ultimately death of our society. But that won't mean liberation for homosexuals. It won't mean liberation for women. What it will actually mean is somebody who's prepared to come in and enforce these laws with a new vigour will actually conquer. That's the ultimate. Either you go back to tradition and reinvigorate our society again, or you allow an outside force to come in and dominate our society. So these big things, I mean, why these people think they're gaining liberty and they're gaining new freedoms, ultimately they're just bringing about the destruction of our society.
Well, I essentially agree with most of that, except I don't really group Marxists and liberals together. I think Marxism is the most illiberal philosophy that I'm aware of, but other than that,
Probably in an American sense.
Yeah, in an American sense, because the American Constitution is based on liberty rather than compulsion, but I agree essentially with your prediction unless something is done.
Even in a society as it is now, it can be easily argued that marriage is beneficial, the most beneficial, which is what the Bible says as well, because the statistics show it. These people have tried to say that marriage is no good, but the statistics you quoted, it's better for bringing up with children and
Can I
everything.
bring in another issue there that it's not been touched on, but is part of the whole topic, and that is abortion. And it's something that you can't have any rational debate on in this country anymore, especially with the liberal left-wing media that we have, that if you dare question the settled and received doctrine that abortion is wonderful and the best thing for the rights of women, then you're the heretic who should be burned at the stake. There are issues here, and this is a hidden problem in society which can't be debated. You can't debate it rationally because you'd have reporters haranguing you during the debate, never mind the person you might be debating with, like Roger Phillips. I don't know, I'm not telling you what Roger Phillips' view on that is, but that's just one radio station. But you can't have any rational debate. You cannot on the media show any photographs of what actually happens during an abortion. Now, if that was shown, I'm pretty sure it would change a lot of people's...
Can I just say, there's a moral confusion there, isn't there, Neil? Because, and I agree with the point you make, because the same people who are squeamish about hanging murderers, for example, seem quite blasé and relaxed about the kind of mass slaughter of the unborn child that goes on advocated by them.
Yeah.
I think it's bizarre. Moral confusion.
Well, there's another undermining of the family as well. The purpose of the family to produce the next generation, and we're killing.
I see that again as where the liberal and the Marxist arguments actually fit together, because obviously the Marxists was seeking to undermine Western civilization, and liberalism was seeking to empower individuals against the moral norms of that society. So they made the argument that it's a woman's right to choose, it's an individual decision. The Marxists went along with that because they realised the consequence of abortion was to weaken Western civilization. So, and this happened constantly. John Stuart Mill argued, as you did, the classic point that if it doesn't infringe on anybody else, why should it be forbidden? But that no man is an island. Nobody's a moral island. If you're making moral choices which undermine the norms of society, there are consequences to that. And therefore, the liberal argument is a fallacy, because all it does is undermine order and social norms, and you end up with chaos. And these supposed choices that the liberals are making, empowering individuals, ultimately weaken individuals, because an individual can only exist within a group. So if the group is weakened, the individual loses his freedom. So this is the liberal fallacy, but the Marxists encouraged this liberal fallacy because they understood that liberalism undermines group identity, undermines group solidarity, and ultimately will destroy the society.
If you do something that severely undermines society and brings morals into disrepute, such as in abortion, killing another human being, then that should be prohibited. And if you consider, say, Ron Paul, for example, well-known modern libertarian, he's against abortion. So I don't think that it's actually a right or a liberty that should be taken for granted that you should be able to carry out abortion. So I don't think really that to be pro-abortion is to be against libertarianism. Depending on how you define libertarianism, you and I might have different views on what libertarianism means, but I think that the main issue is you don't necessarily have to achieve everything through compulsion. A, you can't do it, and B, it's not morally right. Some things, as they've always been, have just been enforced through cultural norms.
But they weren't always backed by the law, by the state. You see, once the state backs something, it gives it extra power. If the state undermines something, it makes it weak.
Well, the state obviously backs abortion with my taxes.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got no say on that. I can't determine, apart from a vote, I can't determine how my tax pennies are going to be spent.
Aren't we seeing the same pattern repeating itself in respect of euthanasia as well?
Yeah.
And there's a creep towards,
Yeah.
there will be in 30 years, it'll probably be the
And
norm
the state broadcasting system is being used to
to away
propagate
the
it.
weak and the
Yeah.
enfeebled. In much the same way, the arguments were made in the 1960s about abortion, that it would, only be in the most extreme cases, that it would not be something that was just on demand. And actually, that has actually happened in respect of abortion, and no doubt it seems to be history repeating itself in relation to euthanasia.
Well, this all ties in with nationhood, you see, because the nation has a sense of continuity over time, in that the people who've gone before us, the ghosts of our ancestors, are still with us. They still have significance in our nation. The generations to come in the future, they are still with us. So there's a continuity in national life. If you bring about euthanasia, which is the killing of old people, in a sense, you're killing off their spirit and their contribution. If you bring about abortion, which is to stop the new generation coming through, you're killing off the lifeblood of the nation. So by stepping outside of nationhood and community and a group identity and opposing liberal individualistic values, these things gain power, such as euthanasia and abortion, because people are separated from the tide of history, from the tide of national life. What we're talking about here is the undermining of a nation. And we don't realise, but the nation is the bedrock of our identity, our security, our democracy, our legal system. Once the nation's destroyed, all these things will disappear. So people now are undermining the actual foundations on which everyone's individuality is based. So by arguing from a liberal perspective that by empowering women to have abortions and empowering members of the family to kill other members of the family in euthanasia, you're actually denying people freedom and not enhancing their freedom.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well, I'd oppose
That's
those
the
two
liberal family
things.
fallacy.
I'd oppose those two things, but I don't see why it's liberal to allow murder of older people or the killing of human beings through abortion. There's nothing really liberal about it.
I think it
Liberal is
the innate sanctity of human life, doesn't it? That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's a salami slicing process. It is the thin end of the wedge, and it's the iceberg. It's always that argument. And I think you enter a dark and grim place if you start to have these things on demand, and if you start to normalise death as something that we inflict on each other rather than something that is a natural process.
Okay, I think it's getting a
And
bit late.
yeah, okay.
Right, thanks very much.
Thanks,
John,
everyone.
for that.
Thank you, everyone.